Lesufi and his executive committee will brief the media post his address. He and Finance MEC Jacob Mamabolo will outline how the province will fund some of the commitments made by the Premier. Newzroom Africa's Juniour Khumalo is at the Gauteng legislature and joins us now. Juniour, very good morning to you. What's to be expected?
Good morning to you, Mpo, and to our viewers. The expectation is that the Premier and the MEC for Finance, Jacob Mamabolo, will basically speak about how they're going to fund some of the commitments that were made by the Premier yesterday during his State of the Province address. We know that one of the main things that he spoke about was scrapping e-tolls in the province, because this is something that he actually promised last year when he delivered his inaugural State of the Province address. But even last year, he did not give basically a detail of how the province is expected to pay its portion of the debt that is owed to SANRAL. We know that National Treasury actually promised to pay 70% of that debt, and then the Gauteng government was supposed to pay 30% of that debt plus the interest that had been accumulated by SANRAL. So we expect maybe the Premier and the Finance MEC to just give an update on how they're going to do this. In December last year, the MEC for Finance had promised that he will give a detailed plan to National Treasury on how they will pay that 30%, but up until now we don't know whether that has happened yet. We also know yesterday that the Premier also promised to scrap, actually to eradicate all the informal settlements. He said that Gauteng had about 700 informal settlements, and there was a process underway to try and eradicate these informal settlements. When we asked the Finance MEC afterwards how the province was planning on doing this, he said that they're trying to provide services to some of these informal settlements and create townships from the informal settlements, and there was also land that has apparently been bought by the Gauteng government to move some of these individuals into that space. But some of the complaints from the opposition parties was that the land that has been bought by the Gauteng government is actually too far from Joburg, from Tshwane as well. So people who are going to be moved to these places will actually have to spend more in terms of travel instead of utilizing that money for other services that they need. So those are some of the things that we expect the Premier as well as the MEC of Finance to actually give an update on Mpo.
With that update, engaging some of the reactions that we've seen around some of these bold promises and commitments, what has stood out for you?
Some of the opposition parties actually were speaking about the commitments, because Panyaza Lesufi said these are not just empty promises, these are commitments that his government was making to South Africans ahead of these elections that are expected to take place later this year. Some of those commitments included the creation of about 400 jobs. He said he's going to provide skills training to about 4,000 youth from townships in and around Gauteng. So those are some of the promises that he made. But the opposition parties said these were just empty promises being made by a desperate government that knows that is actually losing electoral support in Gauteng. Because when he made those promises, he did not speak about how they were going to finance some of these promises. He was just promising jobs left, right and center, as the DA had put it. So they want to hear today how the Premier is going to get the funds, how and where he's going to get the funds to actually create these jobs that he promised. He also spoke about ending load shedding and said that they were restoring transformers that had been broken down in some of the areas around Gauteng. But also we did not get basically an answer as to where they will get the money to basically finance this. We know that the e-toll bill that they have, the debt, is around 12 billion. So that's a lot of money already aimed at going towards financing that debt that they have. And then they still need to create finances for these jobs that they were promising. So most of the opposition parties were saying that these are basically empty promises that are being made by a government that knows that it's actually losing electoral support.
Well, Juniour Khumalo giving us a sense of some of the expectations and reactions so far.